I've seen this come up over and over again. It's Distortion. I guess a lot of people are complaining about it. A few people just made a video on it, and I guess it's blowing up on Twitter. I don't know. The funny thing is, I hear more people complaining about Distortion than actually people complaining about Distortion. But, so you start the trial with 3 tokens. When your aura would be shown to the killer, the perk activates and a token is consumed. For the next 10 seconds, while the perk is activated, your aura and scratch marks will not be shown to the killer. So it's your aura and your scratch marks. This perk does not activate when you're in the dying state. Regain a token for 30 seconds spent inside the killer's terror radius. Distortion may not have more than 3 tokens. Now, going through the aura read perks now, yeah, I think you could nerf it. I think you could nerf Distortion. It would totally be fine. All you do, you start with 3 tokens for the next 8 seconds. Your aura and scratch marks will not be shown to the killer. And then regain a token for each 30 seconds spent in chase. And I think that would leave it in a solid spot. Because right now, 10 seconds is too much. 10 seconds is too much. If I'm playing Huntress and I have Lethal Pursuer in Barbecue and Chili, and all 4 of them are running Distortion, for the first 3 downs, I'm not seeing anything. Or no. For the first 2 downs, I'm not seeing anything at all. On the 3rd down, if they haven't been in my terror radius at all, then I'm seeing things, right? But an 8-second Distortion still counters Floods of Rage completely. Unless you have Lethal Pursuer, then you get a 1-second read out of it. It still counters Thwack completely. It still counters Gearhead completely, unless you are unlucky enough to get like 3 skill checks in 30 seconds. Then it would burn through all 3 tokens from the jump. It still counters Nowhere to Hide completely, even with Lethal Pursuer. With Lethal Pursuer on all these, it still counters Hex Retribution completely. It just takes 2 tokens, but Retribution is so niche as an aura read. It still completely counters Bitter Murmur completely, except for the last Bitter Murmur. Because the last Bitter Murmur is 10 seconds, right? If I'm not mistaken. Bitter Murmur, yep, okay. So, oh my god, Distortion, 10 seconds completely counters Bitter Murmur. If you had Lethal Pursuer, then you'll get a 2-second aura read out of Bitter Murmur. Yeah. The more I look into it, the more I think Distortion is kind of a problem. 10 seconds is way too long. 10 seconds is way too long. You drop it down to 8 seconds, it counters all the perks in the game. Still, almost all of them. You could drop it down to 7 seconds and it would still counter the majority of the perks in the game. But yeah, I kind of just wanted to talk about that. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that real quick. Everybody's talking about Bitter Murmur, or everybody's talking about Distortion, and I wasn't really sure why until I ran into it for the first time yesterday. I made Huntress, and I use 2 aura read perks, Lethal Pursuer and Barbecue and Chili. That's it. You know, just to go for cross map shots. That's pretty much all I do. And it kind of sucks because right off the jump, I was in a match. I only seen 1 person. I'm like, okay, 3 Distortions. That's a little crazy, right? And then, so I get into a chase. I down a survivor. I hook him. I hook the 1 person who didn't have Distortion. I see nobody. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, oh, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that they get 3 tokens for some reason. I totally forgot about that. So I finally find another person. I down him. I put him on the hook. I see 1 person. I'm like, damn. Okay, I guess I'm tunneling this dude out. You know, it is what it is. Like, that sucks, but he's the one not running Distortion. I'm gonna just go for it. So I put them on the hook again, and then I start seeing other people. I see like 2 people, so I'm assuming the other guy got his token back or whatever. And it's not necessarily that it's OP by any means, but it is kind of annoying that, like, I mean, people say aura reading is a crutch and you should have game sense, but obviously that doesn't apply to somebody like the Huntress because, like, you know, if you're going for cross maps, you just can't see that far. You know, you kind of rely on the aura to be able to land a cross map hatchet, and that's where you get your pressure as a Huntress, is injuring people, especially getting cross map downs and stuff like that. I don't think it's really necessarily a problematic perk. I don't think it's nearly as bad as made for this. It would be nice if it was like 30, like maybe, I don't know, 30 seconds in chase is what I heard some people say in a match. But yeah, I think it could use a small tweak. I think 8 seconds for the next 8 seconds, and then regain a token for each 30 seconds spent. You could leave that the same, to be honest, but yeah. I just want to talk about that real quick. That does it for this one. Thanks for watching.